That's one of the greatest promises that Scripture gives us, is that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, meaning His love doesn't change. And it's a good reminder here on AFA Today. Middle of the day, Kevin McCullough, glad that you're with us. We're live in New York, all the way across the country on AFR Talk, and, of course, on AFA.net. You can watch the TV side of this broadcast. Also, those of you getting us, say that again, Brent? AFR.net. Well, if you go to AFA, you can find AFR, and then you just click through and just, right? It all links together, right? All gets together eventually. Anyway, I will follow the instructions of my producer. AFR.net will not only connect you to the radio streams, but you can go back and get highlights of not just this broadcast, but all your favorite broadcasts on the American Family Radio Talk Network. So thank you for being here. Some more headlines, but I want to get your calls in at 888-589-8840. And Kyle has been patient, waiting in Arkansas. Kyle, welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today. Hi.
Hi, how you doing, Kevin? Thanks for taking the call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, actually.
Kyle?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you just came in and out there for a second.
Yeah, I'm on a cell phone, sorry. But I had actually called this, to get that information. I'm one of these people that's pretty active in that kind of stuff when I get an action alert.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Michelle Irvin that you had speaking had actually called me back, but I never spoke with her. But while I was listening, I heard her make the comment, that it doesn't really help for people like from my state, Arkansas or Oklahoma, wherever. I disagree, because if we don't speak out, there's just like in my backyard, I'm very involved. I have my children in Christian school, but I still, make sure of the public
Kyle,
school.
you know why she said that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You know why she said that, because we melted her phone lines yesterday.
Oh, yeah, right. But that's my point. That's how things get done. It lets people know there are activists out here that aren't going to just keep our mouths shut.
Public accountability is a beautiful and wonderful thing, and anyone that is in a job that is related to government or an extension of the taxpayer dime, they just need to be reminded every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that, and I'm confident that you, Kyle, and everybody else that called yesterday were kind and appropriate and winsome in your presentation. But it was wonderful that we heard from her. I got a note from the headquarters that said, hey, so-and-so would actually like to be able to come on to respond to some of that. And I thought, hey, it's a great thing. If people don't want to engage you, that's when you've got a real serious problem on your hands, because if they think they're above public accountability, then you've got to take a whole different approach to it.
That's right. I just wanted to encourage you. I listen to you pretty regularly, AFA programs, but just hang in there. And there are a lot of us, I'm sure, out here that are willing to stand with you.
No, Kyle, I appreciate that, and I know that. I know that about AFR. When people asked Kev, why do you want to do one more thing in the middle of your day, like host a broadcast for AFR? And I said, are you kidding? They are the people that care about getting it done. The only reason I run my company, the only reason I do a broadcast 6 out of 7 days a week, the only reason that I get up in the morning is I want to use every ounce of energy that's within me to turn this world into something other than what it is now. And I want to do that for the legacy of the children that will follow me in this life, and for the children that will follow them. I don't take anything away from being on the air or anything like that every day. When Fox calls and we do the television thing, I'm not doing it so that I get to be on. I don't care about that. What I care about is affecting a change. And along those lines, God's been good. Last couple of weeks, when I went out to the Family Leadership Summit, I had a great opportunity to sit down with some really big thinkers that want to think differently, that don't want to, especially on the abortion issue, just go piecemeal anymore. They want to go straight for the jugular. They want to say, you protect every person that is living. And the personhood issue, I know that in Mississippi, where AFR is headquartered, there were other pro-life groups that were actually more detrimental to the cause than the secular groups were. There were pro-life groups that came in and undermined the long-term effect of the Personhood Amendment, and they should be called out on it. But the issue that has popped into the heads of some people that think kind of the way I think is that if we keep laboring long day after night, night after day, begging for the scraps instead of throwing down and demanding change, that we're gonna be at the end of the day holding scraps. And I don't want to hold scraps. I want to see children's lives protected. I don't want to have to fight and crawl, scratch and crawl for every little change in public policy. I want public office holders to be accountable. I don't want to have to fight battle by battle to try to protect speech here, there, and everywhere. I want speech to be free and protected. So what do? Well, part of what you do is you control the avenues by which people use to get the message out, and part of the thing that you do is you develop the largest response mechanism that's ever been seen in the history of North America. And right now, I'm privy to operations seeking to do both, and I want to be part of that. At the end of the day, friend, I don't do any of this just to add greater, congratulations or whatever to myself. Somebody sent me an email the other day and said, Kevin, you seem taken with the sound of your own voice. If that's how I come off, I apologize. I couldn't care less about me. This is about the next generation. It's about those kids that are coming along behind, because if we don't groom them, if we don't prepare the way, and if we don't teach them how to respond within a culture and a series of controversies in which they will probably see themselves as the minority, we're going to wish we had. So we've got to change the way we think. We've got to change the methodologies and how we accomplish it, and we have to go. There's no more sitting on the sidelines. So that's why we're here every day, changing the way we think, changing the way we respond. Some people say, Kev, you seem really passionate and driven every day. Well, that's true. I am. But when you see the amount of junk that's in the world, when you see what's on the front page of the newspaper every day, when you live in a place where the headquarters of all news agencies exist, and you don't wake up with a fear of God in your heart, trembling over what will happen if His grace, if His common grace is ever removed from this country, friends, if that doesn't put a fire under your fanny, nothing's going to. We're living in desperately harsh times. We are living in times when girls' locker rooms will be invaded by boys. We are living in times when pastors are going to be disallowed from coming and even saying that they don't struggle with homosexuality anymore. We live in times that, as this broadcast has shown every show this week, there is some element of the expression of our faith that's under fire. Where will we turn when those rights are gone? If we do not step into this and say, and it's not just even waiting for AFR to give you the permission to get involved. You see something happening in your neck of the woods, you say something. You organize. You get people alerted to what's happening, and then you do something about it. But believers are the last people that should be sitting back on their backsides going, I don't know, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It depends on how personally inconvenienced I am. Which I'm sad is a vast number of people in the modern Christian world now. I'm saddened to see that, and I see it all the time. 888-589-8840. That's my rant for today. Let me get you to the next headline that I wanted to. There's a coalition, speaking of exactly what we were just talking about. This is on onenewsnow.com, which is a website you should be reading every single day. But this particular story encompasses something that I've just right up the alley of what we were just talking about. There's a coalition of church and ministry leaders that has submitted a brand new report to Congress calling for an end to the ban on political endorsements from the nation's pulpits. Now, I find it somewhat humorous that there's a coalition that has gotten together to make this report for two reasons. One, there's a whole bunch of churches in America that couldn't care less about whether or not there's a ban in place. They're going to endorse people anyway. And then you got a whole bunch of other churches that are so scared of even uttering an idea that might be seen as slightly political or controversial that they avoid all subjects related to those as though it's the plague. And at the end of the day, friend, I think that everyone should just calm way, way, way down and just go for it. Speak truth. What's going to happen? They're going to take your 501c3 status away? What if they took our 501c3 status away from us? Would we stop preaching the gospel? If they took our 501c3 status away from us, would we stop trying to affect a cause? Are we only doing things as a 501c3 because the IRS said that they'd give us a tax break? I mean, I'm all for the IRS being enforced in a lawful manner. That's why the scandals from earlier this year were so bad. But it's amazing to see the numbers of Christians that are like, oh, I'm so scared of what the IRS may say. Really? You're more afraid of the IRS than you are of what God says he will allow to happen if his common grace is removed from our existence. Where's our fear of God, friends? See, at the end of the day, this is why I don't put it all on the secular world. I don't know anything about Michelle Irwin's faith. Maybe she's a believer, maybe she's not. I don't know. But I expect people in the secular arena to respond in a secular way, which means most of the time I expect them to respond from a position that is pretty inherently engulfed, embedded into sinful patterns and ways of thinking, and therefore blind to the light. But we, the church, we, the people and children of God, those of us that know and understand our place in this world is to not sit back and be a nobody, but to step into scenarios in our children's world, in the world of our marriage, in the world of our church, in the world of our community and of our nation. If we sit back doing nothing, then shame on us. America is distinctively dysfunctional right now, not because of the secular atheists that are in our culture, but because of the apathetic Christians that are in our culture. Our problem in North America is people that are on our team, not the ones that play for the other side. And until we own that, until we understand that and begin to communicate to those that are in the ranks and say, hey, you can't sit there and have no opinion on this anymore. Until we're willing to do that and put some of our own relationships at risk because we don't want to offend people. There's a lot of people using God right now for comfort, for a warm fuzzy. They want to go to church and get their hands up in the air. They want to sing some music that moves them emotionally, but they're not looking for actual connection with a living God who's holy, who calls them to live totally sanctified and separated. And when they don't, what we end up with is a bunch of mushy-mouth Christianity that's out there. Nobody knows what's right from wrong anymore. And this is why Calvin McCullough comes to the microphone, so that we can understand, we can remove the confusion and see with clarity what it is that God calls us to. But until Christians own it, until we own it, until we say it's on our shoulders, until we become the Tim Tebow for our community. Come on, guys, I may not be able to throw perfectly, but we're going to win. Get on my shoulders and let's do it. Until we become those people, we're just asking for a lessening of our freedoms. We're just asking for the continual sewer drain of our culture and society, which leads to all of the negative impacts on our kids that you can imagine. When we don't stand, we become an accelerant to the problem. When we don't stand and be counted, we add to the problem. There is no neutrality. It's go or join the other team. I'm for go. Who's with me? All right, let's do it. Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you each weekday. Tomorrow we'll be back for the Friday edition of AFA Today, and I hope that you will make plans to join us. We'll be taking lots more of your calls. By the way, there's a interesting poll up at onenewsnow.com you should vote in. It has to do with this whether or not pulpit politics should be banned or not. This coalition wanting to see all bans on political speech separated from the pulpit. Go and vote in the poll because it will it would be good to hear your voice and to weigh in on that. Very simply, whether or not we should get rid of all political speech in the pulpits of today's world or not. You can vote right now at onenewsnow.com, onenewsnow.com. Calvin McCullough saying thank you for being here tonight, the Calvin McCullough Show, and we'll be back tomorrow for the Friday edition of AFA Today, 35 years strong, here on AFR Talk.